I'm 24 years old and I've never been in a relationship. When I say that or think about it, there's always this little bit of shame that's there, as if it's a testament to a failure or how I've failed to capture someone's attention. Even just thinking about it, I've always had excuses ready to tell why I haven't been in a relationship yet, as if it's something that I actually have to explain. But I think it was mostly just for myself, soothing myself for the fact that I never been in a relationship. Can't say that I've never had friendships. I have a lot of friendships, and the relationships in general, I view it from a very intimate thing. I've told myself that I am scared of being vulnerable. I am fearful, and all of these different excuses that I have to explain why I've never been in a relationship. Whereas the reason is just that it's just not my time yet, and the energy hasn't pulled me there. And I can give you a bunch of psychological issues, I can give you spiritual issues, all of these different things that you apply to the story of yourself, the story of myself that I tell myself to soothe myself. And one of the biggest things that I have placed upon myself was how I always told myself that I'm afraid of being vulnerable. I'm scared of vulnerability, and that's why I haven't dated anyone. And especially now, I've realized that that is a lie. That is a story that I have been telling myself. I think a lot of the things about myself are stories that I tell myself to maybe understand myself, but also to soothe myself. Sometimes it's not true. I don't think I have a problem with being vulnerable. I wouldn't be here posting if I was afraid of being vulnerable. I wouldn't tell my friends that I love them if I'm afraid of being vulnerable. I wouldn't be there for people if I was afraid of vulnerability. And the way I see vulnerability, not having to be anything to be worthy of love. And that's just how I see vulnerability. Intimacy, I think that maybe goes hand in hand. Maybe it's the same thing. I'm not sure. I think sexuality is one of the probably one of the biggest topics in my life that I really delved into. Yeah, I've called myself gay for a long time because I have strong feelings for men, and I always thought it was just that. And from a young age, I always knew that I was different. I always knew that I had strong feelings for men. And I think what really confirmed that was probably when I was 6 years old and I was walking. I feel like this happens a lot for many young gay men, but yeah, being 6 years old and walking in the store and you see the pictures of underwear, it's like such a such like an eye opener. But yeah, that has been something that really has been one of the biggest topics of discovering myself, and one of the biggest things that I had to deal with, especially growing up being bullied. And it's something that I've ran away from, and it's something that I had to come to terms with. But in such a weird way, it forms an identity where you start looking yourself through that glass, and because you love people of the same gender or the opposite gender, whatever, like we have names for gay, straight, bisexual, all of this, and it ends up becoming an identity that you discover yourself in, because all of that is so attached to things like love and just the world in general. The world is not kind to anybody who is different. So it's something that you kind of have to dodge around and be scared of. Once I really got past that fear and really had to now just be like, this is who I am, and that's that. And then I woke up spiritually, had a spiritual awakening, and that's when I started to see that wait, I'm actually more than that. Actually, more than a lot of things that I have placed myself in. Start to see how sexuality is just not even a thing. And I've had so many intimate relationships with men and women. My emotional capacity is very deep. It allows me to see people for at their worst, the things that they're afraid of, and it's like I'm allowed to see all of that. And that's really when I start to see how boxed in I really was. People are much more complex than they seem to be. It's actually one of the most beautiful things that I've discovered about myself, but also about other people, and seeing how depthful they are, how depthful I find myself when talking to men, but also how depthful I find myself talking to women, and how that it's like love that surpasses, I guess, romance or even sexuality. It surpasses everything because love surpasses everything. I've seen people at the most vulnerable. It's like I can't fathom those complexities. That's why it's called being complex. There's no set reason or hypothesis or whatever that's something that you can just say that this is what it is, because it's not. it's it's so vast, and it's also not real, because you can't place anybody in a box. Not with everything that I've learned with anybody. And I think that's one of the things that's so scary to most people. Once you are taken out of your box, let's think in terms of sexuality, you are taken out of your box, you are placed somewhere else. Or maybe you realize that maybe you aren't straight, maybe you aren't gay, and that scares you. That scares me. Once I realized who I was, it's like I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to that confusion. It was always hell. But once you take yourself out of that box, or just that thing that you've been calling yourself, and you start to see how free you actually are, it's actually very powerful. It's very powerful. Realizing that even though you fought for this specific thing, it's not real. Because everything just is. Everything just is. Love is everywhere. Love is everywhere. Love is in the energy that you are. You are love. With the stories that I've always told myself on how I'm afraid of vulnerability, I'm afraid of people seeing me for my true self, seeing how dark I can actually be. That was always a lie. I don't think I've ever hidden from anyone. All I'm doing, if I do hide, is hiding from myself, because everybody around me is me. And how far I give, that's how far you can receive. I can never lack something that I am. I've always said that love is love. There are just different bonds. People just have different bonds, like the love between a mother and a son, or mother and a daughter, the love between two friends, the love between two partners, even love between co-workers, love between business partners. I've seen it. I've seen how you can find love wherever you are. The most randomest person, you can find love in them. It's just one conversation away from knowing someone. No matter who they are, no matter what class, no matter what tax bracket, no matter what. We live in a world that, people want to get married and we want to build lives, together, and that comes with a lot of different decisions that it's not really love, but it comes from a place of love, such as wanting to live together and start a home. Such logistical things, but you want that with someone. So it's sharing a life with someone, which is, I guess, very important. That's why people are really set on the careers and wanting so much, wanting more from their partners. Because, you wouldn't want to be homeless with your partner, right? So it's a very tricky thing in life. I think with everything that we go through in life, I think life is beautiful. Life is amazing. And sometimes we forget that all of this is here for us. Nature, people, it's all here to just to explore and understand yourself. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in the nitty gritty and the rules of life that you don't realize that you have to make mistakes. You have to explore and learn and eat from the forbidden fruit. Well, but I think you get what I'm saying. In order for a tree to grow to heaven, it has to reach down to the depths of hell. And you really have to understand yourself and the illusions of the self. At the end of the day, everything you tell yourself is a story. And I feel like that is the whole video that I would actually love to talk about. A story. The story of the self, the story of the ego, the things we tell ourselves to feel better about ourselves, about everybody else. Because it all comes from a place of understanding or trying to understand oneself. Even if you're learning somebody else, you learn somebody else to understand where you fit in. Narcissist. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, please like and subscribe. Thank you for really being here with me in this journey of, I guess, self-discovery and really understanding myself more and more and more. And to the point where I have to just all let it go. Just let everything go. Because as much as it is my journey, as much as I understand myself, I can't always hold on to these things. I have to let go and then continue on the journey.